Welcome to the News of Young Women's Team with Sara, Madolyn, Natalia, Victoria, and me, Ximena. Let's get started. We're starting with some very interesting stories today. Our first story is a 3/5 compromise. The population of slaves will be counted as 3/5 in total when apportioning representatives, as well as presidential electors and taxes. The compromise comes from the problem of trying to figure out who should be counted as representatives in population. Most Southerners said that slaves should be counted for representation, but not taxes, and others said that slaves should be counted as part of taxes. Our next story is a Shea rebellion that has been happening. Farmers were taxed more for land. Some farmers decided to riot and go over to their local government. Officers were sent down before anything bad could happen. Things are being taken care of at this moment. This is our last story before we move on. It's about the Articles of Confederation and the two parties involved in them, the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. The Federalists are being led by Alexander Hamilton. They are supporting the Constitution and are attempting to convince that they ratify from the documents. The Federalists argued that the Bill of Rights wasn't needed, that they limit the people's rights instead of protecting them. The Anti-Federalists aren't exactly a united group, but instead involved in many elements. One faction is opposing the Constitution because they think that a stronger government threatens the sovereignty of the states. Others argue that the new centralized government would have all the characteristics of the deposit of Great Britain they fought so hard to remove themselves from. Yet still others fear that the new government is threatening their personal liberties. That's our three stories, and now I will pass it over to Madolyn for politics.
Thank you, Ximena. Today, December 7th, 1787, the first state to ratify for the Constitution is Delaware. We only need 8 more to ratify in order to put the Constitution into effect. Please, if you're watching this, ratify your state. We need to be our own country. In other news, we have recently banned slavery in most of the northern colonies. We would like it to extend to all 13 colonies. Georgia and South Carolina threatened to leave the Union because their wealth depends on slavery. Hopefully we can come up with a compromise, or maybe they'll change their minds. Here's Natalia with a criminal report.
I am Natalia reporting live. CNN has ordered a lawsuit against Trump administration. The company claims that the administration has violated the First Amendment by canceling Jim Acosta's White House press documents. President Trump calls Acosta's actions unprofessional and claims he's not a smart person. The First Amendment does state that the Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. In this case, the freedom of press is addressed. They also claim that the Fifth Amendment has been violated. CNN has asked the court to have a restraining order so that the pass will be returned to Acosta. Now we have Victoria on the story about compromises from the convention.
Okay, so today I'll be explaining the conference of the convention between May and September 1787 from 12 states combined in Philadelphia to receive the Articles of Confederation, which had proven to cope with the challenges facing the young nation. The convention was the site of spirited debate over the size, scope, structure of federal government. And its result was the United States Constitution.
He led the Federalists.
The notorious 3/5 Congress.
Who's Magna Carta?
She was the queen of representation of the southern slaveholding states
Alexander Hamilton became that.
in a scheme that would count 5 women as 3, but from May 25 to September 1778, 55 delegates were recommended in Philadelphia for the Constitutional Congress. Iceland was the only state that would refuse to send representatives to the Congress. Which assumed as it was a primary test for replacement of the Articles of Convention.
I'm dead.
Okay, so here we have our two interviews with some of the best influencers of Federalists and Anti-Federalists. We will be conducting this interview through a voice call as our communication. Though I'm not really sure how that's possible in the 1800s, but okay. Here is our first interview with Alexander Hamilton explaining his situation and thoughts on the Constitution.
Hello, I am honored to have the chance to be here and speak for many people today.
It's a complete honor for us to have you here today as well.
Thank you.
Can you give us some insight on what you, as a Federalist, really think?
Well, overall, a recap of a Federalist is a person in general who supports or agrees with a set of authority. And what I'm really trying to say is that the Constitution is perfect just as it is, and I see no reason to change it.
How do you think you could get other states to ratify? Would more compromises fix things, or would you oppose the change?
As I said before, I honestly do not think that there should be any more changes, as the Constitution, in my opinion, is complete, and it would just be more of a scandal to try to add more.
So what is in progress to fixing the dispute between Federalists and Anti-Federalists?
Well, as it seems as if this is not going to end, the work of a Bill of Rights is in progress to appease many more states, as it seems to give more control for people, giving the vision of equal power for the government and the people in their own liberty.
Well, it sure sounds promising for many states.
I hope so.
Okay, so let's say that more states do agree to ratify the Constitution, with the addition of the Bill of Rights. What would be next for our country?
Well, hopefully the number of states agreeing are enough to finally completely ratify it. As for the country, we would finally consider the Constitution as the supreme law of the land.
Well, thank you very much for your contribution and getting to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much for having me here and getting to share a lot with you guys.
Okay, so here's our second interview with Anti-Federalist John Adams. Okay, so here we have Anti-Federalist John Adams on the line, somehow. And we will be talking about their requests and thoughts.
Hello, I'm glad you could have me here.
Thank you for accepting this interview.
No problem.
Okay, so what are Anti-Federalists all about? Or what do you consider them to be in your point of view?
All that we are representing is the idea of change in the Constitution. We cannot ratify something that we all don't agree to. I see the Constitution giving too much power to the federal courts, not giving enough justice to a citizen.
Okay, I see your point. So, what do you hope to gain from the Bill of Rights?
We hope to gain more rights to the people to balance all power between the government and the people. We cannot have a weak government because that's ended in disaster, and we cannot have an overpowered government for the sake of people's rights.
Do you think that would be enough to get the rest of the states to agree?
I do not expect miracles, but I would expect some anti-federalists to be pleased and agree to ratify.
Okay, so I see your point of views as an anti-federalist. But specifically, what do you not agree with the Constitution that makes you not want to ratify it, or just not agree with it?
Basically, the absence of the equality from the people to the government.
You see that as an injustice for common citizens?
Yes, which is what we want to change.
I see your point. Well, hopefully we do get to see those demands acknowledged and established to meet demand too many.
Well, I guess all we can do is hope for the best.
Well, thank you for joining us today.